All right, last time we talked all about building those protective walls for our hearts and our minds. So today, we're going to take that next step. We're going to learn how to proactively, intentionally set our minds to good work. And honestly, this is such a crucial skill, especially if you're navigating the ups and downs of anxiety or depression. So let's just dive right in.
You ever have one of those nights? You fall into bed, you are just completely wiped out, all you want is sleep, but the second your head hits that pillow, boom, your mind is off to the races. Anxious thoughts, regrets, worries, they just will not shut off. I love the way our source material puts it with this question: are there ailments on your pillow?
Now, we're not talking about the nice, refreshing mints you'd find in a hotel, right? We're talking about the mints of discouragement, discontentment, and disagreement. And here's the crazy part the source points out. Unlike a real mint that just dissolves and goes away, these mints, well, they actually grow the more you chew on them. They just get bigger and bigger and more sour.
Okay, so to really understand how to deal with these mints, we need to explore what the source calls the mental wilderness. Let's take a look at the landscape of our own minds.
This image just lays it out so perfectly. Think about your mind like a forest. On one side, you've got these well-trodden paths. Now, if you struggle with anxiety, these are probably the superhighways of fear and worry. If depression is more your battle, it might be those deep, well-worn ruts of anger or bitterness. They're so easy to walk down, we kind of end up on them without even thinking. And then you've got the other side, the overgrown paths, happiness, contentment, positive thinking. And you can see those are going to take some real intentional work to clear out and follow. So now that we see the two different kinds of paths, let's talk about why. Why do we so often find ourselves stuck on those negative ones?
It's really easy to fall into what our source calls the pit of voices. And if you've ever felt just totally overwhelmed by anxiety or depression, this is going to sound so familiar. It's that feeling of 100 different thoughts all shouting at you at once. Voices of self-doubt, fear, hopelessness, and they make it feel absolutely impossible to find a clear, quiet path forward.
So if we're surrounded by all that noise, how in the world do we find the right path? You hear it all the time, right? Just follow your heart. But is that really the best advice? The book of Jeremiah actually offers a pretty different perspective on that.
And this leads to a point that is so crucial. If the heart itself is described as deceitful, then simply following our feelings can actually be a trap. Think about it. When you're anxious, your feelings are screaming, danger. When you're depressed, they might be whispering that nothing even matters. Trusting those feelings can lead us right back down those same old negative paths we are so desperate to get off of. Our feelings are real, for sure, but they can't be our only guide.
Okay, so if we can't just rely on our feelings, what's the alternative? What do? Well, let's open up our trailblazing toolkit and find out.
I absolutely love this analogy from the source. It feels a lot like a technique from cognitive behavioral therapy, actually. Think about your brain as having a find and replace feature, just like in a word processor. It's a tool that lets us actively find a negative, anxious, or depressive thought, and then replace it with something better.
So how do we actually use this find and replace feature? Well, believe it or not, the Bible gives us an incredibly practical checklist for our thoughts right in the book of Philippians.
What's so amazing about this is how direct and to the point it is. It's basically a mental filter. So when an anxious or discouraging thought pops into your head, you run it through these questions. Hey, is this catastrophic worry actually true? Is this self-critical thought honest or just? And the source points out there's no room for overanalyzing here. It's a super straightforward list. If a thought doesn't pass the test, you find it and you replace it with one that does.
Now here's the thing. This find and replace work, it is not a quick fix. It's not a magic trick. It's a daily practice of activating our faith. And this slide does a perfect job of contrasting two ways of looking at faith. On one side, you have this idea of an automatic response, kind of like you're just hoping your anxiety will magically disappear in a crisis. But activated faith, that is a conscious decision. It's that daily and, sometimes really difficult choice to use your tools, to claim God's promises, and to intentionally choose not to give in to those negative thought patterns. It takes effort.
So, the crucial point here is this: retraining our brain, clearing out those positive mental paths. That is a lifelong hike. It's not a one-time fix. Managing our mental health is a journey. It's not a destination. And it's made up of thousands of these small, conscious choices to think on what is true and pure and lovely, day after day after day. And that brings us to our final thought for today. The source leaves us with this beautiful and really provocative question. See, we all have a song that our thoughts are creating in our hearts. It's our internal narrative.
So just take a moment and ask yourself, what kind of song is it? Is it a melody of praise, or is it a song of complaint and fear?